welcome in, guys. It's Campfire Conversations. The first time we actually using the term Campfire Conversations. It took us a year, but we finally like came up with a name for our book club. But yes, welcome in. We have the amazing, awesome Alyssa Villaire, the author of The Neon Sky, right there. Look at it. It's pretty. It's pretty. And I want to say that like this book hurt, but hurt in good ways. I
I hope
was
so.
I was worried coming to the end. We're not going to do any spoilers, but we're coming to the end. I'm like, there's a lot of things not fixed, and it was like, please fix them. I need happiness in my life. And then we got some fixes to what was going on, and I was like,
Um,
okay, I don't have to yell at her in DMs.
you're
so
totally within your rights to yell at me in
so
DMs,
first
but
off, chat says I have a spending problem.
oh, chat,
And I I
like
have
you
no
as
idea.
in you have a spending problem?
I have no idea what they're talking about.
What
They're
the
trying
hell?
to
They're
say that like
all
I should
so
only have one
pretty.
book, and it's like, but they're pretty.
They are, and they all look quite different. Like I've been very lucky in the cover department. I
Yes.
feel with these books.
I don't think so. You're literally saving these. Exactly, I'm saving these books. Also, they all are slightly different sized. So
Yes,
like
so they make like a perfect little like mountain of books.
exactly a perfect little step right there. Look, see? And then when I
Literally.
have the other ones, because inevitably I do have a spending problem, and I will have the matching the water stove, the one from Fairy Loot and stuff like that. It will look very nice, because then I will build a pyramid, so that way the two so your two Fairy Loot ones will face outwards, because
The
beautiful
sprayed
books,
edges. Yes,
and then
yeah,
the
and
other
the
ones
sprayed
will.
edges on the Fairy Loot edition of the Neon Sky are really, really
I
nice. I
haven't
mean, to
seen it
nobody's
yet. They're
surprise, but
they're still
I don't think
it's
anybody has. I don't
no,
think
that
it's like
pre-order is
public
taking
knowledge.
forever.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to send out like next month or August, so
Okay.
it'll be soon. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I have spending problem, but I don't care,
Thank you.
because they're very
Oh,
pretty
it's
books.
so nice to see all the books together.
Will I be buying another one in January for a language that I don't even read? Yes, but that's besides the point. Don't at me.
I was like, wait, January, that's the German edition.
Yeah.
And then September is the French edition, which I'm going to be sharing the cover for that one pretty soon. It's like
Okay. So
it's a
there's another
very
one.
it's a very different cover. It's like very Stephanie Garber kind of. So I'm excited to see what readers think of that one. They
It'll
also
be on the
changed the
shelf.
title, actually. I don't know if I think
Really?
I'm allowed to say that. I think it's fine. They did. They changed the title. So in France, The Glittering Edge is going to be known as Idlewood because they just felt that that would work better for their market.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. Yeah.
Okay. At least it's not like a weird name. It was just like it at least has something to do with
It's
the
just
book.
Idlewood. It does. It does. Yeah. Apparently, the French translation of The Glittering Edge, they felt like it just didn't really hit. And I don't speak French, so I was like, I believe you. Do whatever you want to do.
That's very possible. So let's jump into the book. Uh, this is the second book in your duology, so we are now already done dealing with Idlewood. How was it to? Because I talked to you about it the first time, and you were in the process. I think you were in the process of like actually writing the second book. So how does writing a second book in a duology um, work, as far as that goes? Because like in the first book, you're all these characters are fresh, they're new, um, but the second, like you need to kind of like tie this up with a bow. And from what I hear from a lot of authors, the second book is always the harder to write from the series. So let me know how that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of plotting, I went into The Glittering Edge knowing I wanted it to be a duology. So, I plotted both of these books initially as if they were a single book. So, I looked at the character arcs throughout books one and two. I always knew kind of the ending that I was writing toward. And I figured out some of the big events that would happen in both books one and two. And that was really helpful, I think, just in like keeping the momentum, but also making sure the character arc felt satisfying for the reader. Because I think it's hard, when, as you know, when you're just starting out, and you're like, okay, are people going to want to read more books within this universe? Am I even going to be able to get this book off the ground and finish it and get it out into readers' hands? And so I think initially when I was working on The Glittering Edge, I was really just thinking about book one. But by the time I signed with my agents and sold the series, I was like, I really have to be thinking bigger, and I have to make sure that, like, I'm leaving red herrings or Chekhov's guns in book one that then relate to the plot in book two. So I was very much able to plot them together. I don't know how that would work with a trilogy, because I feel like a trilogy is a lot more intimidating, and you have like three books that you are like working on, and I that to me just sounds so very hard. But I feel like with a duology, it's like part one and part two, like they can fit together like very neatly. And so it actually in some ways was easier writing book two, because I had figured out so much of the story already while I was working on book one, and also the magic system was established. Readers coming in would know exactly who these characters were. um Endings, though, even though I always knew exactly where I wanted the book, the Neon Sky, to end, endings are hard, I will say. So in some ways, writing book two was easier just because the world was so established, and it felt like kind of having a conversation with an old friend. But then actually writing an ending that was like satisfying and that tied things up in a certain way was tough. Yeah.
This is probably like we're running into spoiler territory, but do you see yourself ever coming back to Idlewood? Because you have established some characters, like I believe Penny's story is done, Corey's story is done, Alonzo's stories are done. However, you introduced a new character into the series named Marley that I adored, and
Oh, yay.
I would love to see her getting something in the future. And then we have Dylan, and
It's so funny because you literally named the two characters who I'm like, if I could write a spinoff, it would either focus on Marley or Dylan for sure. Because I love writing those characters. I feel that like their voices came through for me like very strong, in a very strong way. And like it would be really easy, I think, to follow them to their next adventures. I have no plans to do that right now. Um, in the future, I would love to go back to this world and to kind of explore it in a bigger way. So, no plans, but you literally like honed in on the two characters that I would want to continue to follow.
I would love Marley, even though I despise Dylan with the passion of a thousand suns. I would read that book to see if she got if she got a redemption arc.
She got hers.
She's kind of like how I would like feel with like Nesta in the Akatar series. I hated her.
What's crazy? I've never read Akatar.
That's fine. You don't have to. But like
Okay. I
I
always feel like a terrible author when I tell people I haven't read those books, because I know they're so iconic.
they are, but like I don't think I don't want to like shit on the books because I do really enjoy the books. Like I really like
Yeah.
I like I mentioned Nesta because like a lot of people have read Akatar, so they understand that like understand the redemption arcs of these characters. Whereas just like Dylan is just a deeply unlikable character, at least in my opinion. So like I would love to see that if it did happen and you did end up going with Dylan. I would read it just to see if there's a redemption arc on her part, to see where things go and things like that. Because I do love that part of the part of the character development. Because like I'm going through like my last bits of like developmental edits and things like that for my book. So it's like it's always interesting seeing where the editor is coming from as far as like, oh, I love this part of this book. Oh my god, this person's irritating the shit out of me. I love this. And she's like going bullet point by bullet point. She was like, why are you hurting my feelings? And I'm like, because it's the book. So I'm always interested to seeing where things could go in a book And yeah, like I love your series. It was very, very good. It was so well written. And I I know this is probably the same for you, but it was very hard to put the book down and kind of like, well, I guess we're done with Indiana for a little bit.
No more Hoosiers in our lives for a while. Just kidding. My entire family are Hoosiers, so I always have Hoosiers in my life. But yeah, it's funny because I think I have gotten some DMs from people who are like, "Oh, like this can't be the end. Like it feels like it comes too quickly. Like there's got to be more in the story." And like maybe that's just how duologies sometimes feel. Like I think after I read Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, I was like, oh my God, like there's no way we're done. And then actually we weren't, because she came out with what was it called? Wild Reverence, which is like a spin-off set within that
Oh,
same
okay.
world. But it's like it's not following the same characters. I think it's like a prequel of some sort. Um so yeah, it is strange when you've built out this whole universe to just like leave it behind, but that is part of like our jobs, I suppose, as authors. You got to get
Yeah.
to the next thing, and it's better to leave readers wanting more, I think, than for them to be like, "I'm so ready for this to be over."
Yeah. I've we were just talking about a book series. I'm not gonna to shit on the book series, but like there's a book series that like at, people are waiting for this series to kind of come to an end, but at the same time they're so kind of over because of the wait, where it's just like I'm fine with what we
Oh,
got kind of thing. And it's
yeah.
like, do I
Hmm.
want to get there? Because like there's been this amount of closure that you've had over a very long period of time, and it's like, do you want to kind of open up those fresh wounds kind of thing? It's like it it becomes a situation when a world is left for too long, I believe, that
Yeah.
you kind of lose interest in it.
Yeah, yeah, and readers move on, and it's like everyone has short attention spans in this day and age, and so even for certain series, I may have an idea of what series you're talking about, but I might be
Hmm.
wrong. Um, but yeah, even for a series that reaches like that level of success, like people move on. Um,
Hmm. And
so
I imagine that's probably something that would be very, I would say, detrimental towards like you as a YA author, because like you have a, I think you have a window where
mhm.
your readers may age out. I don't care. I love YA. So give me YA all day long.
Same.
I'm fine with it. However, there are some people that do kind of like age out, or their tastes change as they grow with a book that's kind of targeted in their age group. So I could definitely see, not necessarily, I mean, kind of a time clock on a
Yeah.
specific series where people that read the Glittering Edge and they were on the younger side within that demographic of YA, you would have to kind of get the Neon Sky out in a relatively short period of time, because like if the Neon Sky came out like 6 years later, a lot of those people that may have been, they may have moved on from your series, or their
Yeah.
tastes may have changed. They might not even be into contemporary fantasy. Like they may
Right.
go into something else. So like I could definitely see that being um something that that all authors probably have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that. I was just thinking about that the other day, because it's like, okay, if we say young adult readers are between the ages of 14 and 18, that means that like a quarter of them are aging out and a quarter of your audience is new like every year. So it is very high turnover. And I think young adult and like young adult readers, well no, just young adult fiction in general, it's changed a lot, because I think a lot of like young adult readers are and have been adults, but now a lot of those readers I think are turning to, especially like the fantasy readers, they're turning to like romantasy or new adult books because those have become more popular, and it scratches kind of the same itch for them. So I think the audience for young adult fiction has also changed recently, like in the last couple of years. So yeah, I guess that's my full thought there.
I get it. But yeah, I can definitely see that, because like we now have, with having that new adult section in the pantheon of books, I think it is a really interesting way to step out of YA and still kind of get that itch that you're scratching. So yeah, so I can imagine like for a young adult author that puts a little bit of added pressure because like we're not competing against each other, but there is some level of like having to capture the audience at a specific time.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I could see that there being some type of pressure in a specific genre that's kept like whether it's middle grade, whether it's young adult, whether it's new adult. Because I'm in so many book things and people are just like, I want this person. Why don't we have this age person? I'm like, well, it's there. We just
Yeah.
you just got to look for it.
Mhm. Mhm. Totally. Totally.
With that in mind, what do you have coming up? Because a thing that people don't understand with traditional authors, traditionally published authors, as opposed to indie published authors, um, when you're done with a book, you've been done with a book for a while. So
Right.
to us, it feels like, oh man, she just got done that book like 10 minutes ago. So like she should be ready for like what does she have on the horizon? Meanwhile, for a traditionally published author, typically like you're already like either halfway into a book or you're done the next book. And I understand there's only so much you can say about that kind of stuff, but like, what is that kind of journey in between finishing a duology and then seeing that what's next on the horizon kind of thing? Not necessarily like give us what exactly it is and give us a synopsis kind of thing. Like, what is that feeling like between ending a duology and then kind of like looking at the horizon on what might be coming up next?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll like I feel like there are kind of like two big questions there, so I can answer both of them. It's like, yeah, what does the timeline look like? What does the process look like, sort of behind the scenes? And then also like I can talk a little bit about what I'm working on now. So generally, when you're traditionally published, you finish your book about a year before it actually comes out. So the Neon Sky has been done for a while, a little bit less than a year, I would say. And then you go to copy edits, and just making final tweaks on the book as your publisher is like doing the layout and design and things like that. So the Neon Sky has been finished for a while. And technically, so the I can't speak for all publishers. I do think a lot of publishers work this way, though. It's when you turn in sort of the final draft of your book. So this is before it goes to copy edits. If that final draft is accepted, then you pretty soon after that are able to submit new pitches to your publisher to see if they would want to buy additional books from you. And so you can start that process pretty quickly, and I know a lot of people do. For me, I did not do that, and that was a conscious choice. And that's for a couple of reasons. I think first, I had been working full time while writing this series, as many authors do. I had also like planned my wedding and like done some really big stuff in my personal life, and I
Congratulations
needed
on that, by
a
the way.
break. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I needed a break. So I kind of took a step back and I wanted to be just like really deliberate about where I put my energy next. And so actually now I'm working on an adult fantasy series. So my audience is changing slightly. It's also high fantasy. It's not contemporary fantasy. I do find that I get bored really easily. And so the fact that I like worked on a contemporary fantasy series for like years, I ended that being like, okay, I need to stretch my brain in a different direction. And that direction, as of right now, is just like creating an entire universe, an entire world from scratch. And so I'm really enjoying that. I can't say too much more about it right now, but I will share. So the comps that I've been thinking of are like A Darker Shade of Magic and Arcane, if you're familiar with those.
Okay,
Um,
I've heard of them.
so Okay, Arcane is like, so I've never played League of Legends, but it's like the League of Legends show that came
Mm-hmm.
out on Netflix. It's incredible. Like
I
it
haven't seen
is,
it yet.
you gotta watch. I mean, you're so busy, you're writing like 4 books, but like when you
I wish
actually
it.
have a
I
moment
wish
to
it was
breathe,
just four. I wish
Oh
it
my
was just
gosh.
4.
See, I
Oh,
wish I could do that. I really, even writing two at once, because I'm also like, I'm doing some ideating in young adult right now, but like, I don't have anything like any firm plans there. But even that, I'm like, oh, like this hurts. So I respect you so much for being able to juggle that many books at the same time.
it's it's a I have no one to blame but myself. Like I I can't blame. So I'm kind of like you. It's like I need to stretch my brain, and I think one of the things that I love with my horror series is that like I treat each one of those stories kind of like a writing exercise, where it's just like
Mm,
I purposely don't write the same type of story. Like I will make sure that I change the POV, or I'll change tensings. Let me make sure it's like one will be in the first person, third person. Sometimes it'll be from the stories of the survivors. Sometimes it's like right in the middle of an action. Sometimes it's from the monster's perspective, or the killer's perspective. So like I think that helps scratch my itch a little bit,
yeah.
but that also like leads me down a path where it's just like we have this epic fantasy. So like I also have the epic fantasy too. Like I had a whole language like planned out. Like I have
Wow.
like a whole like spell language, and then um the second book expands on that and creates another spell language, and then the third book is going to um see those two things come to a head, and kind of like want to destroy each other. There's just a lot going on, but at the same time, like my brain was like, hey man, I would love to do a paranormal romance. And I was just like, hey, you
God,
know
I
what,
love a paranormal romance, obviously.
I I was it was more like I was talking to a friend, and he just kind of like dared me to write a book, and I was just like, fine, I'll do it. And then it was going to be like a 20-page novella, and then it turned into like a 70,000 page or 70,000 word paranormal romance, and it was just like, this is just
Wow.
weird, and I don't know why I did that. But and then it also does your writing get informed by what you might be reading at the time?
Oh, great question. I'm sure it does. Um, I don't know that I've ever had an idea specifically based on like a book I've recently, or like inspired by a book I've recently read. I think like my ideas tend to percolate for a really long time before I'm like, oh, like this thing has legs. But is that how you came up with the idea for your paranormal romance?
That's basically it. Like so my writing process is I will work on, my whole goal is to work on one project. Only one project. However, the moment my brain says, "Hey, what about that?" I have to get a chapter done. So like I will write a full
Yeah.
chapter to start that story and kind of get the poison out of my brain so I can go back to my work in
Hmm.
progress. But then sometimes it'll be like, "Wow, I really liked this story." And I was like, well, maybe I can write one more chapter. And then, well, we can get the first act done. And then, well, I need to go back to my work in progress. So we're doing this. And it was just like, man, you know what? I just read Tourist Season, for example, like Bryn Weaver's Tourist Season,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I love Bryn Weaver. And then I was just like, man, you know what? I want to write a serial killer romance. And then it was just like, well, let me write that first chapter down. And now I'm 12 chapters into that book. And I'm like, I still have two, like, I still have three completed works in progress that I need to do now.
Right,
And
right, to focus on. But I mean,
yes,
the shiny new ideas, like that is a real thing that I hear a lot of authors talk about. Just like it's hard when you get that spark of inspiration to like actually set it aside in favor of what you're working on. But I have to say, before I forget, so you mentioned serial killer romances. Have you seen Hannibal?
I have not. So
Okay,
this,
I'm
you're
just
talking
watching
the
it for the
second,
first
the
time.
the series or the movie?
The series.
Oh, okay. I have
Yeah.
not seen the
So
series.
there are three seasons.
Okay.
It's not a serial killer romance in like the super obvious sense, but like it's pretty clear kind of where the show wants the two main characters to go. And it is, if you need more inspiration apart from Bryn Weaver's book, I would highly recommend Hannibal. It is fantastic. It it does make you a little queasy though. And like for one of my friends, it made her turn into like a temporary vegetarian for like I think she said like 8 months. So do know that going in. But very
That
fun.
that actually happened with the last author that we just did, Rebecca Noble. So like we did a horror book, and her book was gory,
Oh,
very gory, and I was just like, man, I don't need to write horror for a little
really?
bit. I was like, I kind of need to
Yeah, you're
detox
like,
off
my
horror.
tummy feels strange.
Yeah, it.
Just like you feel so sick sometimes reading about, like, I feel sick reading about body horror or seeing like certain kinds of horror movies.
She was very much into body horror. She wrote arguably, in my opinion, one of the most visceral first chapters of a book I've read in a very long time. Like it was a very extremely well done, but man, it was like visceral. Like you were in the mud with how like crazy that first chapter was, and it kind of hooked you, and then you're off to the races, and things just get worse and worse and worse. So how do you work with dealing with your first chapters, because your first chapters has to do so much heavy lifting, especially now in the TikTok age and reels age. Like we only have so much room, so much time to like capture somebody. So has that changed your feeling moving from the glittering edge to the neon sky and forward? Has the need for our constant validation of things, has that changed or informed your writing in some way?
What a great question. I mean, yeah, it's really challenging, I think, to exist on social media as a creative of any kind and not have that like feedback loop influence your work. So I think, I think I definitely do pay attention if there's like a pitch from another author that like catches my eye. I'm like, okay, like why did this impact me? Like what made me want to read their work based on, the little snippet that they shared, and how can I do something similar like with my own work, or like can I flip through my book and like find a passage that makes me feel similarly and I could use that in content. So yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think it's definitely hard to step away from that, but I also think for the sake of my own creative process and like for these characters that I want or that I have written or that I want to write in the future, like I do need space from social media and the social media marketing of it all. Um, so I think for me, a way to sort of combat that is I now like keep all of my social media like filming and editing and prep to like 1 day a week. And on that day, I don't do any sort of writing. I write, so I do social media on Mondays and then I write Tuesdays through Fridays generally, and then sometimes weekends if I need to. Um, but I try to keep it more contained just because I feel like now in this day and age, we are seeing a lot of people who are really great at social media, um, whose books don't necessarily live up to the promise of their
Know exactly what you're talking about.
posts. Yeah. And I definitely just I want my books to remain the priority, and I want them to be able to stand on their own and to be really strong on their own. And that's not, again, not to say that social media marketing isn't important, because I think it's just a reality for any author today, whether you're traditionally published and like indie or self-published. It is just something that most of us have to deal with. But yeah, I tried to be diplomatic about that. I hope that made sense.
No, that does make sense. I batching content, I think, is the thing that like saves people's sanity in social media.
Totally, totally.
I'm also with you. Like I create, I would say like 99% of my content on like one day. Like Wednesday is my day. Like Wednesdays I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing my, because I don't just write. I have our Twitch channel that we're on. I have a react channel on YouTube. We have other content here, and then we have a podcast. So like, I would go insane if I left that all to like different days, because then I wouldn't be able to. There's no chance in the world to be able to write a book if I was not like condensing that all into one day. So like Wednesday, I don't really talk to anybody. Um, other than my girlfriend. I would just be like, so yeah, like I don't talk to anybody on Wednesdays because Wednesdays like my heavy edit days. For like online content, it's my filming day for online content. All that stuff happens on like a Wednesday because I, like you probably felt it because I know you don't post much on TikTok anymore. Like you post mainly on Instagram, at least for the most part. So like I've seen a lot of people, a lot of authors get burnt out on TikTok because like the algorithm is very good about keeping our eyeballs on there, and as a result, like I should have been writing for 3 hours and I've been doom scrolling this whole time.
Yeah.
So it feels like a very much a double-edged sword when we're trying to deal with that because we have to create so much content. We have to see what other people are doing so that we can tailor our content to what might be popular at the time. But at the same time, if we don't take a step back, we've lost a whole day or a whole week. And then it's like, oh yeah, deadline.
Yeah, yeah, it's deeply distracting for sure. And I think also like, social media, it is, some people are like, oh, the internet isn't real life. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think at this point, like, the internet is a part of our lives. That being said, it's a very curated part of our lives, and it isn't always completely honest. And I think like as an author, it's really easy to, feel down about like your own work or your own career, like if you spend a lot of time on social media, because it is like a very filtered version of people's lives. It shows kind of the highlight reel as opposed to the reality, which is that publishing is full of ups and downs. And so I think for my own mental health, like it's been really good for me to step away somewhat. And I have been posting less on TikTok, although I'm trying to post more on TikTok again because I play the game. But yeah, I think like for the sake of our writing, but also for the sake of just like our mental health, it's good to create like firm boundaries if possible. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Like having one day a week where like it's just focused on content, that has been a huge help for me, just in terms of like really separating out that part of my life and not letting it distract me as much.
Yeah, I get that. Like I said, it becomes a thing where like we personally, if I didn't need to market, didn't need like if as an author, whether you're traditionally published or whether you're indie published, like the internet is part of our lives. Like we can't shut it down. I would happily never log on to Threads or Instagram or TikTok ever again. I'd be fine with them just jettisoning them from my life. But you can't because then you're a hermit. Nobody knows what book came out, and then it's like, man, why haven't I sold a book in like a year? I'm like, well, that's because like no one knows who you are because you're not on social media. So it is it is that painful double-edged sword, and it cuts you a lot because
Mhm.
you need to be on and you need to have our face out there and our books out there, but at the same time you can't have it consume every waking moment of our lives. And at some point like you will feel like that. I feel like every author that I've talked to has that moment where it's just like, wow, I haven't seen you on TikTok in a while. It's like, yeah, I went crazy and had to like delete it off my phone for like 3 months or so. And
Yeah, social media hiatuses are important.
I think they are just for our sanity. Unfortunately, like I am locked in because unfortunately all of my stuff is social media. Like I live on social media. So like I have to be there. So it's very hard for me to detox more often because like Twitch, and then we have YouTube and our Spotify and all this kind of stuff that I have. So it's very hard for me to disengage. So like I do try to have those weekends off where it's just like I'm not I'm gonna hang out with Alyssa. I my girlfriend's name is Alyssa, so like I'm gonna hang out with
Yes.
Alyssa, and I had to make that because I had to make. I was like, by the way, my girlfriend's name is Alyssa because like I just need to hang out with Alyssa on the weekends and just tell her how much I love her. I'm like, that's gonna sound very weird unless people know that my girlfriend's name is also Alyssa. But
It's a
yeah,
good
like I
name. What can I
it
say?
is a good name, but it is one of those things where it's like you have to take those moments away. I think just to make sure that you're a good author, because otherwise, like
Hmm.
you don't have room to to like handle your life and handle your ability to write. There's too much space taken up with social media and not enough
Yeah.
of your ability to kind of write what you need to write, if that makes sense.
Totally. And that totally makes sense. And I think just in terms of our attention spans as well, like for me, I think I was like over the last couple years, just with the, publication of my first books, like I I had been on social media so much that like it really messed with my attention span. And I actually had trouble like sitting down to like read for an extended period of time. And like as authors, it's like we have to keep reading. I think we have to understand where the market is at. Also, just we enjoy reading, which is why we got into this in the first place. Like it is one of the things that brings me the most joy out of anything else in my life. And so I had to like retrain my brain to like not constantly be wanting to check social media, and like even a reading sprint of like 45 minutes felt huge. And I'm in a better place with it now, but I think just part of this career is being really conscious of like how all of these things impact us, and being willing, like you said, to step away. And actually one thing that has like super helped me is I have a brick. Are you familiar with the brick? Let me show you.
Mm-mm.
Okay, this is the brick. Um, it is, I think it's like $50, but you can program it so that you can tap your phone to it and it will block certain apps off of your phone. And so like that is actually what helped me really like create some space from Instagram, TikTok, Substack, even because I love Substack and I could stay on there all day. YouTube, Goodreads, things like that. So like on days when I'm writing, I will tap my phone to the brick and I just can't even get on any of these apps. And that's super helpful.
Oh wow, okay, I need that. I need that.
I think a lot of us do. Like my friend who's also an author, Emily Charlotte, who wrote Heart Check, which is like an incredible YA hockey romance. She was like evangelizing about it. She was like, "This has like changed my life," and so she's the one who convinced me to get it, and it's definitely worth it. Highly recommend it.
I might have to check into that because yeah,
I will
every
gladly
now,
send you a link.
yes, please, because again, when I'm trying to write, when I'm trying to do that, it is just so easy. Where it's like, oh, phone dinged. What's there right now? Let's go check. Oh,
Exactly.
I have messages from Instagram. I have notifications from TikTok right now. Then I have a missed call from spam. But like all of this stuff, it's like you have all these things, and now it's like, do I go and check all of that stuff? No, I should be writing. It's right there.
Yes,
Please, just.
exactly.
And then an hour later, oh man, I should have been writing. Meanwhile, I've just been doom scrolling the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, been there.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle dealing with this as authors, because again, marketing is the lifeblood of our books. And I do believe that it kind of holds true that the best marketing is the next book. Did you find that true when dealing with the Neon Sky? Did the Neon Sky's marketing feel a little bit easier to kind of like push back onto the Glittering Edge because like you had another book to point to? Um, how did that feel for you?
Great question. Yeah, so it was interesting trying to market a sequel, especially a sequel to a book that, slight spoiler, ended in a cliffhanger.
A bit, yes.
Yeah, there's a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of The Glittering Edge, just forewarning. Um, and it made me feel like there was a lot I couldn't say about the Neon Sky because the plot of the Neon Sky is so dependent on what happens in the Glittering Edge. So my strategy ended up being I was just still marketing and am still marketing the Glittering Edge. Because in order for the Neon Sky to find readers, the Glittering Edge has to find them first. So I think with a series, and it's really made me kind of think about the future as well, because it's like, okay, if I were to at some point write a trilogy or something like that, which I've already said really intimidates me, but is a possibility, like how would I market each of these books? and like what would that have to look like? And I do think a lot of the marketing, unless your book is kind of a standalone within the same universe, a lot of the marketing does fall back on book one. I think I'll be interested to see, as I publish more books, like if, a lot of people find me through the Glittering Edge, or if people find me because the pitch for the new book sounds like it's up their alley. So I will report back on that. I'm not sure how that's going to go.
I mean, obviously, we'd love to have you back for the next time you come out with a book. So like, we'll be definitely be looking for that.
I would love to come back. That would be great.
Yes, you would be like one of our first three timers, because you've been on the show twice. Diana Rodriguez Wallach has been on the show twice, and Angela
Oh,
Montoya has been on the show
oh, I
twice.
love Angela.
And then later on, I think like the very early part of 2027, Abigail Owen will be on again. We just have to get
Amazing.
her schedule, because man, that woman travels.
Yeah.
That woman travels so much. Um, so it's just stuff. We'd love to have you on again, obviously. Um, but it's one of those things where like it is very tough as far as marketing goes. Like, I am doing a trilogy, and it's like, you
Oh,
listening to you, and I'm like, huh, I didn't even think about that. Oh God.
yeah. I mean, I think so. Something I've been thinking about is like, okay, maybe it's like in the future, I just need to have like a really distinctive pitch for each book that I can kind of refer back to. But yeah, it's just the marketing is not quite the same, because so much of like the book marketing that we see is like, here's this series, or like here's I'm going to talk about the first book in the series, or here's a quote from book one, or here, so like very rarely do I see like marketing for sequels in that way. And so yeah, it's something to keep in mind, but I'll be interested to see, like, to learn from you and to see how you handle the trilogy marketing as well.
I can see it now. 6 months or a year from now, when once the second book is like on its way, you would just like pop in, and it's like, man, he is having a time, isn't he?
I will be cheering you on, liking and sharing and all of that.
I appreciate that, but book one's got to get out first. That'll be out in September. It's there. We
Exciting.
we have a date finally. 23 years. It took forever,
Congratulations.
but like, it's there. It is
Awesome.
it's going out to beta readers at the end of this month, and then ARCs next month. So
Great.
plenty of time.
Are you allowed to share the title?
Oh, yes, it is grayscale. So it's been going. I did some I can actually, I'll send you the cover, because the cover is like
Yes,
done, and it
please.
was just like, it looks so. There's something now that I've had that in my head. Your covers from the Glittering Edge and the Neon Sky are slightly different as far as what the kind of the feel for them. How did
Mhm.
you how did that make you feel, seeing your covers? Because to me, look, I want to be quite honest, I wasn't on camera when I cried like when I saw the cover of
Oh,
my cover, because the book can be done, like the book can be finished, you can be in the midst of editing, or even completely done. You feel a very different way once you see the cover of that book. And
yeah.
for me, I cried. I was just like, it felt like a good finality. So like, how did with you being able to see your covers and how they've changed, like for example, the glittering edge has changed several times, and it
Right.
looks like I got to buy two more books in French and German, even though they have nothing to do with the things. It's a compulsion at this point. Look, I have all of your books. I plan on getting all of your books. Everybody has that one author. There's some girl on TikTok that has 42 copies of Fourth Wing. She has like literally every single copy ever created of Fourth Wing. Everybody has
Oh
their
my
things.
gosh.
You're now my obsession. I'm sorry.
Oh, oh my gosh. No, I'm so flattered by that. And like literally zero pressure. And also, I can send you copies of the French and German editions, because like I'm assuming they will be sending some to me. So I will gladly send those to you. So,
Look, I am never going to
um,
turn down a free book. If you want to do
as
that,
we've
I
said,
will happily
I
take those
do.
books.
And you can see like these first three shelves here, these are all like my books, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's great and it's very exciting to like have, different editions and all of that stuff. I need to make some space, so you would be helping me out.
Like that's mine right there. You can't see it, but like right there.
Oh yes, yes.
That's
So
Campfire
cool.
Ashes. That's volume 1 and volume 2. Volume 3 comes out in August. So like
Oh my
that's
gosh,
also
you
got to
have
get done.
a book release in August and then a book release in September.
Yes, and then
Whew.
if I do it right, a book released in October with the Paranormal Romance is
Wow.
done. Yeah, no pressure.
Exciting.
Oh, it's
Exciting. Oh my gosh,
it
busy
is
year for you.
a busy year. Yeah, it is. My goal was 4 at the beginning of the year, and then I realized there's no way I was gonna be able to get that done. But like, still coming off of 3 feels like a lot.
That
But
is incredible, Paul. Like truly. Like please celebrate yourself and like understand how amazing that is.
it's a lot. But so yeah, like going back to that question before I got completely derailed. How does it feel? Like, what is that feeling once you've gotten that book in your hand and it's like finished and everything like that? Because like to me, it was very much like I said, I cried.
Yeah. Um, gosh. I mean, I think in terms of like when I saw the covers for these, well, so I mean, I know you know this, but maybe this would be interesting for your viewers for us to go into a little bit. Like the Glittering Edge got a cover change from the hardcover in the US to the paperback in the US. Obviously, there were also different covers. There was a different cover for the UK and Fairy Loot edition and all of that. But yes, these are the two. So the hardcover had that beautiful cover with Penny on it, and then the paperback has the two hands, which are Penny and Alonzo's hands. Um, and so I actually had I had thought seeing the cover for the Neon Sky that I wasn't going to be very emotional because the reason that we did this cover change was because my publisher just like wanted the book to appeal to more readers and they felt that the cover with Penny on it just wasn't performing the way that they wanted it to. And so this does happen. You see it happen sometimes. When a paperback comes out, it gets almost kind of relaunched with a brand new cover. And so I feel like by the time I saw the cover for the Neon Sky, we had been through just a lot of back and forth about the covers already. I wasn't feeling particularly emotional about it. I liked the cover, I approved it. But then, like, once the final copies of the Neon Sky arrived and I opened them, I was like, I did cry. I was very emotional. I was like, "Oh, I am holding an entire series that I wrote in my hands." Like that was a feeling that I've never had before. I didn't know if I would ever get there, and so it was kind of a big moment. Um, but also I think I was just really happy with how the Neon Sky looked, and that's true for the UK edition as well. I'm obsessed with the UK cover. I think that my UK covers are like very unique and yeah, yeah, there's book one. Just that foiling, the foiling.
The
Oh, I
foiling
love it
does
so
look very
much.
nice. It is a very nice
Yeah,
foiling. Monkey,
so
if
fun.
you're in here, this is what you're the cover that you can get easiest. So we have a UK guy in here. It's like that's what
Oh,
your cover looks
amazing.
like.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it was emotional, but it's like I think sometimes like there's so much back and forth with the cover design process that I get lost sort of in the administration of it all, like the just the nitty gritty of it. And then like once you get the book though, you're like, oh my gosh, I did the thing. And so I completely understand why you cried. It is like a really emotional moment. It just feels like the culmination of all of this work.
Hmm. With me, it was very tough because like I said, like I've definitely told this story to you, and I've told the story to other people that like losing the book 20 years ago, and then having to like kind of like just hating writing for so long, and then coming back to it and coming through, seeing that felt to me very like, oof. It was like the 20-year-old in me was just like, you did it, you're fine now. So I think that
Yeah.
for me, at least, it was a bit of healing with that, but also like I don't know if this happened to you as a trad publisher. If you did they give you like options for it, or is it like this is your book? Do you like it?
Yeah, they gave some options. So for book one, um, they had shown me a sketch that just didn't quite work out. And they ended up offering me the choice of a couple different artists. And so I was able to choose the artist for the book one hardcover. And it was an artist that I had already been a fan of and really loved. Um, and so I had some choice there, but for the paperback of The Glittering Edge and then for book two, I think they were, I don't think they even said like, "Oh, are you okay with this artist?" I think they just said, "This is your artist. Here are some sketches." And I was happy with the sketches, and so there wasn't a lot of back and forth there. But I definitely had, some say in the cover process, which is great because yeah, for a lot of traditionally published authors, I think you don't really
Hmm.
get to give feedback. It's like, this is what the marketing team thinks is going to sell. And so you just have to kind of accept that and move forward with it, which is interesting. But I'm very grateful to my publisher for allowing me the opportunity to give some feedback.
That's awesome. Mine was like they're just like, here's like six different versions of it, and I was just like, I love this one, this one, this one, this one, and it was like that didn't narrow anything down, and I was like, well, let's tweak
You're
here
like,
and
I
tweak
love all
there.
six.
Yeah, I kind of no, I didn't love all six. There was one that I was just like, not that one. It was like they made the name into a sword, and I was just like, no, I don't. Mm. I was just not a fan of it all.
Doesn't fit the vibe, yeah.
It didn't, and then we got it down, and then we got it to like four different versions, and I was like, I can't pick. So I talked to a couple different people, and like, what do you do? What do you think? And we finally got it to what it is, and then the final tweaks, and once I got back, I'm like, okay, we're gonna cry now, and we have it done. So like, I will definitely send that to you as soon as we get done.
Yes,
But
please. Yes, I'd love to
um,
see it.
so again, um, we've touched on it at the very beginning, but like, what do you have on the horizon? Like, what because I know traditionally published authors, your contracts run very differently. Like sometimes it's like, hey, you have a 2 books deal, you have a 5 book deal, you have whatever. So like, run us through that process, or at least what you can run us through that process of like, what your contract looks like, what you might have coming up down the road, what you might be obligated to do coming down the road, and move on from there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the Glittering Edge and the Neon Sky were part of the same contract. And now that that contract is finished, that's why I'm kind of moving on to work on an adult project. But because of the way the contract is written, and I mentioned this already, but my publisher will get first dibs if they want it on any YA books that I write next. And so, because the YA market has been changing so much, I feel I've kind of just been observing and doing my own research and coming up with ideas more slowly, but like they will get the first opportunity to buy my next YA books. And I think for me, ideally, I would want to sell maybe 2 standalones. I would love to work on some standalones, unless I have an idea for like a big epic series, but that has not happened yet. Um, and so that's kind of what's on the horizon with YA. And then I am working with my agents on my adult fantasy book, and my agents are very editorial. And so I expect I'll be working on this with them for a little while longer before we try to sell. But because I'm now established in traditional publishing, I didn't have to write the entire book. I had to write a 100-page sample. And so that process is a little bit different just because I have some books under my belt. Um, and hopefully we'll be able to sell that series based on the sample. And then I'll be under contract, and so I'll be writing the rest of the book on deadline, which is fine. It's been nice to not have deadlines for a while. But that is the life of an author, as we both know.
So with that going through, since you're writing a new adult book, would that have to go through a different type of publisher? Because I know your imprint is like a strictly a YA thing. Would you go somewhere else within the publishing house, or would you just kind of go out wherever you need to go?
I think wherever I needed to go. Yeah, I think it would just depend on what editor vibed with the book. And kind of who felt that it would be a good fit within their own imprint. My publisher does have like a new adult romance focused imprint called Requited, and they're putting out some great books. I don't think that the book I'm working on would be like a great fit for that. And I'm sure what's nice about this and what's nice about having like incredible agents is that they are the ones who are thinking about that more than me. I like don't know anyone in the industry apart from people that I've already worked with. And so they're the ones who have the connections. They're the ones who are like, okay, I understand this particular imprint, and like they might want a book like this. So we're going to submit to them once we go out on submission to editors. And so they're able to really be strategic about the submission part and in terms of like how like what publisher I may end up with. Like they'll know kind of they know the reputations of different editors. They know what's on editors' wish lists, and so it's nice that like I don't have to do that part of the work.
It sounds like you have some very capable agents.
Yeah, they're truly the best. I'm very lucky.
All right. Well, this has flown by already. I
Oh my gosh, did we even talk enough about the neon sky? I'm like,
I don't know if we did. I don't know if we did. Anyway, is there anything you'd like to talk about the neon sky about? I do love this because it feels very much like a conversation and that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, with a conversation, it's like, man, that flew by. So let's get a little bit some last thoughts on the neon sky. Like, what would you like to talk about as far as that goes? Like, um, again, because it's only a second book, there's only so much we can talk about it without like going into like heavy spoiler territory. But like, what did you find that you loved most about the neon sky?
I think that just the characters, and I loved, I talked about how when I was planning both books, it was like I thought of them almost as a single book and in two parts. And so the character arcs, the way that I designed them, it was they followed the characters through the beginning of book one to the end of book two, and I knew I wanted them all to end up in different places and to grow as much as possible. And I do feel like they did grow and they grew up a lot. They went through some really challenging things, as you know. And so I loved seeing them, you know, basically go from like teens to young adults.
Hmm.
I think that was really exciting and hopefully relatable for some young readers out there. I've gotten some messages, some DMs from the teens, and they could really see themselves in a lot of the characters, especially Penny, who struggles a lot with anxiety and with the idea of like leaving home and her life changing. Like, and that for me was like a really big source of anxiety when I was in high school. And so it was really great to just like follow these characters through this journey. I'm like very honored that the books are now out on shelves, and I hope people can see themselves in these characters, and I hope that they just find it to be, kind of a cozy, slightly creepy time hanging out in Idlewood with these characters.
It was great. I did love how you exploded your world. Like, very one was very much Idlewood centric, and this book was able to kind of like, hey, everything's still taking place in Idlewood, but there's so much more to this world than there was in the first book. So I loved how that expansion of the lore and the story came into place. I did love. I was surprised how much I liked Corey because I was not a big fan of Corey in book one. Like, he was okay, but like
Yeah.
I hated him for about 2/3 of the first book, and then he he came into his own at the end of the book, and he it very much picked up with that, where it was just like, oh, I forgot, I like Corey. Corey's a great character. I love him. Penny was absolutely amazing in the story. With your talking about the anxiety and things. One of the things I do appreciate about your books is that they are YA. However, they're not annoying. The characters aren't irritating people. They're not whiny. They're capable about doing what they need to get done. So there wasn't that like, oh my god, can you please grow up? And it wasn't. It didn't feel that way. dealing with that, because occasionally that does happen in YA, where it's just like
Oh
you
yeah.
start yelling at the book, and then you realize, well, these are teenagers, so like we have to give them some kind of grace. But like with your characters, they felt very capable, to where
Mhm.
there's you're just yelling at some of their decisions because unfortunately that's just where the book is going. But like there wasn't a need
Yeah.
to be like, oh god, these are just teens. Like you didn't feel that with your books, and I did appreciate that writing style. You treated them like adults, and then you also treated the readers like adults, if that makes sense.
Mm. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I think the way that I see it is like teens are just adults with less life experience. Like they are grown up in so many ways. They just have a lot to learn. And I think especially like when I was a teenager, I could tell if someone was like writing down to me, if it was like, oh, they don't actually respect these characters, they don't respect actual like teenagers, they think that they're all like a certain way, or that like we're not capable of understanding X, Y, or Z, when like teens are capable of anything really. And I think it's just important, especially when we're writing for them, to keep that in mind and to not be condescending.
I think that's the perfect. I think it's the perfect way to describe those types of books. You weren't condescending in any way. I think your books felt very informed. It felt they like you were treating these like characters that you wanted to succeed, or you wanted to go. You weren't. It didn't feel very like laborious. I think would probably be the best way to describe it. Um, they felt very lived in. They felt like characters you generally wanted to root for, with the exception of Dylan, because fuck that girl. Uh,
She's
uh,
complex. She
I
has her
know she's
her good moments.
complex. Yeah, fine.
No, she's a tough one. She's a tough cookie, that's for sure.
But anyway, guys, we have This is the Neon Sky. If you have not picked it up already, it is available in all bookstores. Also, the UK has their version also. If you have not picked it up right now, I don't know why you haven't. This book is amazing. Alyssa is an amazing author, and we cannot wait to see what happens next with her. We will absolutely have her on again as soon as a book is out and available, because you are just a joy to talk to in general. Because again,
Oh,
like I said, it was like, hey, did we talk about your book much? We've been talking for an hour, because I really do enjoy having a conversation with you. So like, I appreciate you being here and taking time out of your day, especially you being on the West Coast, and it is early for you. So like, it's like first thing in the morning for you, and it's just like to come in here and be able to carry on that conversation. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you so much, Paul. And I'm so glad, speaking of like social media doing good things, I'm so glad we met on TikTok.
Yeah.
And
And now we
it's been
talk on
so
Instagram all
fun.
the time instead.
And now we talk on Instagram, and it's been just lovely to like get to be part of this community that you've built. Like, I think it's like really amazing what you're doing. So thank you for like reading the books, being excited about them, and like wanting me to come and talk to everybody.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Neon Sky is available again wherever you buy your books. Alyssa Villaire, thank you so very much. I appreciate your time, guys. Check out her books if you have not already, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, Paul.
Bye.